Hey guys, how are you? Sonora here, coming at you with another video. What we do here is we just dissect words. We dissect words to kind of uncover the subconscious meanings behind them, and we reframe those things in our subconscious mind so that we can improve our lives. So, um, Today we are not going to do a specific word per se, but what we're going to do is I'm going to read you a text that I received this morning from a family member. Um, what it, the reason I'm sharing this is because, guys, people are gonna test you, test your boundaries. They're gonna try to hit you where it hurts. They're gonna find that Achilles heel and really zero in on it, right? And when you haven't done the work, when you haven't healed, when you haven't dealt with the traumas from your past, these things can end up being crippling. And I know this because a lot of my clients have asked me to do this process with them. Okay. It is a process that I do, and um, I don't know how I manage to do it, but I do. So it's a thing. Anyway, I guess you could say I cracked the code on this stuff. So when you're dealing with family members, relationships, whatever, of a narcissistic nature, the narcissist likes to reframe the situation to put you in the bad light, right? And it is called reframing. It was something, and I didn't know there was a word for that until recently. I learned that by watching Med Circle on YouTube. Um, I myself have had a lot of encounters with these kind of people, and I took it upon myself. And I'm not saying that it's better or worse, but I took it upon myself to research and understand why these things were happening. Luckily, I knew deep in my heart, I guess, at my root, that these things were not true. I mean, they can be based on truth, right? There's always a hint of truth to everything that a narcissist will throw at you because they have to make it believable, right? And then we can get into these things called cognitive dissonance and so forth. Now, the way the narcissist is able to kind of trap you, I guess, is they actually will take and trigger you, okay? And they will make you react in a sort of crazy bitch sort of way, right? And then they use that as evidence. They take that out of context and they use that as evidence against you, right? And then at some point you're gaslighted enough into believing that you're the bad person, right? That you somehow did something to deserve this. Um, which is more often than not the case. These people, guys, they're a lot of people would say they're mean and evil, and I would have a hard time arguing that. But what I have also learned is that they are also just very hurt, right? They have their own trauma in their past that they're dealing with or not dealing with, as the case may be. And, when you go through those kind of traumas as a child, when you're neglected or when you're devalued or you are made to be the scapegoat or even the golden child in a narcissistic family dynamic, um, you go one of two ways. You go the empath route or you go the narcissist route. And those two polar opposites tend to attract each other. So um, I like to consider myself an empath, but I'm not going to lie, guys. I question whether or not sometimes I'm the narcissist, and when I am made to question that, it's from a place of someone having reframed against me, right? I look at all these ways in which narcissists behave, and I have to look at myself and say, have I behaved in that way? And yeah, I have. I'm not gonna lie, I have. Um, and that's okay because that was what I was taught. Um, and that's how I fought back against those people that were doing that to me, right? Um, you spend 50 years being taught to be a certain way, and it's challenging at best to try to unravel that. I think everybody has a level of narcissism in them, and everybody has a level of empath, and it's just, which wolf do you want to feed today? You guys have seen that story, right? So, anyway, sorry guys, this is a rough text. I needed some nicotine today. So let me paint the picture for you here. So I have a cousin who was in need of some help, right? And we'd had a past. We had used drugs together in the past, and we had basically, been very toxic for each other in the past. We hadn't spoken in 5 years. And side note, I am no longer a drug user, by the way. But recently, in the last few months, he called me and needed help, right? And he's a family member, so of course, I'm not gonna let any family member of mine that I I'm not gonna let a family member in need of help who actually wants help sleep on the streets. So I I let him in. I let him move in with me, and gave him a bedroom, gave him food, gave him shelter, gave him a car to use, even. Fast forward about a month, and the car was gone when I woke up and was not returned when I asked it to be returned. So I repossessed it. 2 days later, he shows up, um, not sober, and ranting and raving, and it took police escorts to get him off of my property. There's where we're at. Okay. This happened, ooh, I don't know, about a month ago. About a month ago. And so here's the text I got. And guys, I'm not telling you this story to get your sympathy. That's not the purpose here. I'm telling you this story so I can show you how to reframe this if and when this happens to you, because something like this could really put somebody back, right? You could really regress in your healing as a result of some of the things that are said, right? So let me read you this text from my dear cousin. This is a reminder of how big of a fat, ugly piece of shit you are for destroying my life, all because you are a fucking crazy cuz whose own mother killed you off at 10 because she saw how much of an evil, conniving, manipulative, selfish, fat bitch you were. I hope the guilt of what you did makes you bring this world relief and you fucking kill yourself. Everything bad that happens to you will be because of what you did to me. Understand that and know that you are not a healer, you're a liar, and you're a horrible person. I'm going to make sure you get one of these every week to remind you of your selfishness. That's why your own daughter won't let you see her fucking children, piece of shit. Okay, so yeah, that's a fun text to get first thing in the morning, right, guys? So let me break this down for you a little bit. Clearly, I have unhealed. Well, it's not so unhealed anymore. I had issues with my mom growing up. And having grown up with an anorexic mother, I have a very unhealthy relationship with food. And thus, I am an overeater. And I am a little sensitive about my weight, but that's okay. Um, I also, let's see, what else did he say? I also take a lot of pride in the fact that I don't lie. I will try to sugarcoat the truth, I guess, and maybe I shouldn't, but I'm not a liar. I'm just not. And I am also pride myself on not being selfish. And I don't mean selfish in the good way, right? Because there's a good selfish. I mean selfish in the bad way. And then lastly, I did go through a period with my daughter where we weren't speaking and I wasn't able to talk to my grandkids. That time is over now, but hey, it was a thing. And it taught me something, and I'm grateful for having been shown that and having learned that lesson quickly enough to where I do have a very close relationship with my daughter and my grandchildren now. But here's the thing. While my cousin was here, I shared these vulnerabilities with him. Okay. Um, I trusted him. And I didn't think that it was going to get filed away in the back of his mind for a time when he wanted to hurt me. That was my mistake. Guys, just because it's a family member and just because you've known each other for 50 years doesn't mean that they're not toxic. It doesn't mean that they're not going to use these things against you. It doesn't mean that they're not going to try to hurt you in some way if they perceive that you hurt them. And I do say that they perceive. Okay. Like I said, I told you the story. He was on drugs, stole a car, needed to be removed from my home for my own safety, really. And, waged the whole smear campaign against me and removed a lot of people from my life. And to be honest with you, at first I was really hurt by that. And, that's another kind of level of this reframing thing is I learned that people, again, family members been in my life for 50 years, that if you're willing to believe this man and what he says and not ask me about it, not confront me about it, then I'm grateful that you were shown me, or I was shown, however way you want to say it, that you just don't know who I am. You see me as the person that I maybe was. Yeah, I probably was that person that he's talking about years and years ago. Um, but you don't see me now. And if you can take what he said and believe it, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate my cousin for showing me who those people truly are. So, um, a lot of facets to this situation, guys. A lot of facets. There's so much learning, so many things. The gaslighting, the smear campaigns, the narcissistic rage, the setting boundaries that aren't met with respect, but met with resentment, right? So I'm going to actually reframe this conversation on my phone here, and I'm going to tell you how you can hear the words as you're reading them. Okay, because this is literally what I kind of did in my head this morning, and it's kind of kept my balance. Like I'm not thrown off by this stuff that he's saying. One, because I know my truth. Two, because I've dealt with this stuff already. I dealt with the poor me on the mom routine, and I dealt with I'm not going to be a size 4. That's okay. It's okay because you know what? I am me, and I'm perfect. I'm a perfect divine child of God, and knowing those things helped me reframe this conversation. So let's do it. So, from my cousin. This is a reminder of how big of a fat, ugly piece of shit you are for destroying my life. Okay. This is what my subconscious heard. This is a reminder to myself. This is my cousin speaking now. This is a reminder to myself that I am a fat, ugly piece of shit who is destroying my own life. Now, I don't think he's fat, but I know that he has issues with his weight. I don't think he's a piece of shit, but clearly he thinks he is. And he's destroying his life. All because you're a fucking crazy cuz whose own mother killed you off at 10. Now, I found that interesting because I never really mentioned anything that happened at the age of 10 for me. So that was my first clue that, like, well, that's weird. Why would you say my own mother killed me off at the age of 10? I wonder what happened between him and his mom at the age of 10. Interesting. She saw how much of an evil, conniving, manipulative, selfish, fat bitch you were. Okay, well, were you conniving? Were you manipulative? Were you selfish? Were you evil? I do know when this cousin was smaller, he was referred to as evil a lot. I mean, he was a little shit, okay? And he did a lot of things that he probably maybe shouldn't have done, and he did them at a very young age. He was anyway. Reframed that into, so he's calling himself these things, guys. I guess is the point I'm trying to make. I hope the guilt of what you did makes you bring this world relief and you fucking kill yourself. Okay, well, this part is the part that scares me. Because I'm not suicidal. I'm just not. And one of the things that he did in an effort to get me to conform or get me to give in to his demands was he called the police and tried to have an ambulance brought to the house saying that I was suicidal. So this is a recurring theme that he uses. That concerns me because it's basically telling me that he's feeling that way, right? He's thinking that he's going to bring the world relief with his own death and crying out for help, and that's sad, really. Everything bad that happens to you will be because of what you did to me. Well, everything bad that happens to me will be because of what I did to myself. Again, this is reframing his words. Understand and know that you are not a healer, you're a liar, and you're a horrible person. Okay, well, he tried to convince me that he was on the healing path. Clearly, he's not. He lied about it. He spoke my language. He tried to use my buzzwords against me or to manipulate me. Um, and he feels horrible about that. You know, his higher self is telling him that's not the way to be, right? He's projecting his own beliefs about himself onto me. I'm going to make sure you get one of these every week to remind you of your selfishness. Well, apparently once a week, he is reminded of his own selfishness and um, how far it has gotten him to where he is now living on the streets. That's why your own daughter won't let you see her fucking children, piece of shit. Okay, well, he has a son that he has no relationship with. Clearly, that's an issue for him too. So, luckily, my subconscious is able to reframe this conversation, and I hear him crying out for help. I hear him telling me everything that he's dealing with, and I am brought to a level of compassion instead of anger. I'm brought to a place where not only am I grateful that these things aren't hurting me because I've done the work and dealt with these things and know my own truth again, and the truth of who I am as a person. Stop it. Sorry, guys, my dogs are going crazy over here. I don't know why. I could edit this out, but you know what? We're just going to go with it. Guys, stop, please. Where was I? You guys made me lose my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, so I know my truth. I know who I am. I know I am a divine child of God. I know that I'm honest. I know that I have never done the things that he's accused me of doing. I know that I have never stolen a penny from my family. I know that I have never turned any of my family in for doing that said thing. Um, yeah, I mean, it's funny to me. It's funny um, that the way things play out, right? So anyway, so we reframed that conversation, right? We reframed the situation for what it truly is. I was able to translate what he said to me about me and understand where he's at in his life, where his head is at. And guys, I have a lot of compassion and it's everything in me not to reach out and offer help. But that's not a cry for help. I mean, I guess in some way it is. And he can't even see it. He can't even see that his own higher self is asking him to look and see what he's doing to himself, right? Um, there's a phenomenon called mirroring. It's similar to projecting. So if you're projecting your own trauma on someone else, then that's what you're going to see in them. Okay? If you have not healed, if you don't know what you truly look like, then everything you see will be a reflection of yourself. Knowing that, and knowing that I can stand tall in my truth and not be rattled by this and not believe it. I just don't believe it. Then it's easy for me to lift that veil of illusion and see those words for what they truly are. Um, I've thrown around a lot of big words, a lot of buzzwords in the narcissist community, a lot of buzzwords in the spiritual community for that matter, with this conversation. And I guess we can go through them, a little bit. I threw out a word, uh, narcissistic rage. Let me explain what that is to you. Um, when a narcissist You know what? Now I'm just going to use it. When a narcissist goes into a rage, it's because they cannot control, right? As long as you're doing what they want you to do and everybody's happy, they're a peach. You know, they love bomb you. They tell you what a great person you are and how lucky they are to have you in their life and how blah 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 blah. The sun sets and rises with you. Say no. Say no to something that you didn't say no to before and see what happens. Because the result will be a narcissistic rage. They will bring up every little thing that you have ever told them, every password you have ever given them to your subconscious, and they will use it. They will use it and they will abuse it and they will project it and they will basically have their 2-year old tantrum until they can control you again. If you have not done the work, if you have not spoken your truth, if you don't know who you are at a core level, this can rattle the fuck out of you because somewhere inside, your inner child still believes those words that they're saying. You know, in my case with that text, somewhere deep inside, my inner child knows I'm not a fat, selfish piece of shit. I because I know it's not true, it doesn't bother me. 3 years ago, before I knew it wasn't true, that would have had me in a puddle on the floor. If there is a level of believability to it, it is a trigger. It is showing you what it is you need to uncover, what it is you need to deal with. You know, guys, I feel for people who were raised in an abusive situation. I really do. And I hesitate to say that I was because I'm still working on it. I don't believe it was abusive. I just don't, not in the traditional sense of the word. You know, was it abusive by today's standards? Yeah. Yeah, it probably was. And I don't say that to say poor me. I don't say that my parents were bad. My parents were wonderful people. They did the best they could. They really did. And you know, it's just what they were taught. But anyway, at some point, it's not their fault. It's not their responsibility to heal it. It's mine. It's my responsibility to see it and heal it. At some point, guys, you're responsible for knowing that there's some shit deep down, way down here, that needs to come out, that needs to be addressed, that needs to be let go of, so that you can stand in your truth, so that you do know who you are at a core level. Those beliefs that you were taught, in my case, you know, that I was a fat, selfish piece of shit, they're not true. They're just not. And until you can crack the code and understand that that was just something someone said, then you attached to it and you believed it and you watered it and nurtured it for 50 years and made it your truth, it's going to be your truth. And then when people say those things to you, it's going to hurt. I heard something last night. Somebody was talking about on one of my videos that I watch because I watch videos all day long. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me, or words will never hurt me, right? So not true. So not true. Oh my gosh, yeah. I today's day and age, like whoever made up that poem, that rhyme for kids, should be shot. I mean, my God, words are the worst ever. Words can really hurt, especially for someone who's not healed. They really, really can. The other word we threw around a little bit was gaslighting. So gaslighting is when the narcissist reframes the truth in their favor, right? And then you start to question your own reality. It's kind of hard to explain because they're so good at it that you don't notice it. So let me first say this, okay? I was at a birthday party a couple months ago, and my little cousins, I think, well, not little anymore. I guess they're like seniors in high school. And you know, obviously today's teenagers, whatever, they know about narcissists and gaslighting and whatnot. So we were all having a conversation, and someone was talking, and my one little cousin said, "Stop! You're gaslighting me." And it just struck me as funny. And I don't mean It wasn't funny because she believed it and we talked about it and it's fine now. But my point being is if you can identify it as gaslighting, then it's not gaslighting because you're aware of it. Okay. Gaslighting is when you just really are questioning your own reality. When you have to question what you know to be true, and you have to, okay, let me give you a good example. If you have to call your girlfriend and say, let me tell you the situation and you tell me if I'm being crazy or not. If you make that call, guys, you're being gaslighted. Period. End of story. I mean, it's an easy identifier. Okay. If you feel the need to record every conversation, which I did for a while, not gonna lie, guys, I had to do that for a while for my own sanity, and replay it so that you can prove to yourself that you did or didn't say things, or that they did or didn't say things, when they're taken out of context and retold in your smear campaign, then you have been gaslighted. If you um, sit up at night when you're in bed trying to sleep and you go over a situation over and over and over again and think of how many different ways you could have answered it or handled it to have defended yourself better, you're being gaslighted. Another phrase that we threw around today was, let's see, we went gaslighted, we did the narcissistic rage, we did, um, what else did we say? Smear campaign. Here's a good one, smear campaigns. So when the narcissist can't get his way or her way, and they will build an army against you, basically. So what they will do is they will take everybody that you hold dear, every level of support system that you have or think you have, and they will attempt to take that away. Why is that? Well, because at some point there's nobody left. They're hoping that you reach back out to them. They're hoping that you need them so bad that you'll give in on whatever it was that you said no to start the whole chain of events happening, right? So a smear campaign will be this. And they're tricky. They're good, guys. They're good. I'm telling you, if they could use their powers for good instead of evil, they would be successful in life. But anyway, so they will take something that you said, and you will have said it. I promise you this. You're not going to be able to deny having said it. And they will take it out of context. They will reframe it, right? Remember what reframing means, when they will take it out of context and repaint the walls. The room is still the same. It's still the words that you said, but they put a different layer of paint on it. And they'll retell it to other people, painting you out to be the bad guy, right? And if you're lucky enough to be confronted by these people and they ask you about it, then those are your people, guys. Those are your people. Those are the people that know you and see you and are like, this just doesn't sound right. Let me reach out and see what's happening here. But the people that don't, those people that don't reach out to you, those people that accept that word as truth, that is literally a clue. Those are not your people. And you don't need to defend yourself. You don't. Know your truth. Speak your truth. And if those people hear you, great. And if they don't, you know what? Move on. I don't care if it's your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your child. I don't care. The word family doesn't have to mean DNA. Okay. Just because you gave birth to someone doesn't mean that they owe you their, that person is automatically has to be in your life. Just because that person gave birth to you doesn't mean that that person has to be in your life. If they are not at your level, if they do not know their own truth, then they're gonna be just as willing to accept the untruths about you. And it hurts. It does. It's devastating, you guys. It is absolutely devastating when the family in town that um, believed the smear campaign about me. I was in tears. This was a month ago, you guys. I was in absolute shambles, thinking, how could these people not know me? And they don't. They just don't. It's not a reflection of me. And it's not even a bad reflection on them. It's just what they were taught. And that's okay. What else did we talk about? We talked about smear campaigns. We talked about gaslighting. We talked about reframing. Passwords. So for my techie friends out there, put your firewalls up. Don't give your passwords away. Obviously, my passwords were my mom. They were my grandkids, my daughter, my weight. These are my passwords, right? Don't give those away. Don't give those to people who will use it against you, you know. And don't be the person that uses that against someone else either. I have to ask myself that, when these things happen to me, I literally have to ask myself, am I doing this in some way? Because I don't want to, if I am. And a lot of times, like I said, you do what you're taught. And a lot of these things can be done at a subconscious level. I don't think I am, but I will be more aware. I will be more aware and make sure that I'm not doing that. Right? Everything's a mirror, guys. Everything. Is it a clear mirror or not? That's the question. Oh, the veil. Lift the veil. The veil of illusion. So this is a big buzzword in the spiritual community, especially now at Halloween. And they talk about, the veil is thinning and blah, blah, blah. And they talk about the veil between two worlds. Well, let me tell you about the two worlds that they're talking about. They're not talking about heaven and hell or earth and heaven or, the 3D, the 5D, whatever. I'm not saying they're not a thing because they are. They just use different words. They're metaphors, guys. They're metaphors. The veil of illusion is that truth that you believe about yourself that someone else told you because of their own hurt. That is the illusion. When you lift that veil and you see the truth, that is what they call the 5D. That is seeing yourself from a place of love. Okay? The other veil illusion would be the only really good example I can give you is a couple that gets divorced, right? Guy cheats on her. And I'm using this example because this is what happened to me back in 2009. I actually had a divorce lawyer tell me this. You don't miss what you had. What you had wasn't that great. What you miss is what it could have been because you were seeing him the way he wanted you to see him and not for who he truly was. Chew on that for a minute, guys. That is the veil of illusion. I was an emotional wreck for years as a result of this divorce. And until I could really hear what that divorce lawyer told me and understand that I didn't miss what I had sucked, you guys. It did. 15 years I spent in that marriage. Was there pockets of good? Yeah, obviously there would have been 15 years. But for the most part, it was not good. I was constantly on guard of other women. I was constantly having to work 3 jobs because he didn't want to work. I was constantly having to trust him with the care of our children. And I do say our children. And come to find out, at the ripe old age of 28, my children are now telling me how horrible he was when I wasn't there. It was an illusion, guys. And when you lift that veil and you go into that 5D mentality and you see things for what they truly are, you're not sad about having lost it. You're grateful that you don't have that still. Veil of illusion, it's a powerful thing. And a lot of times when people want you to see them in a certain way, they can be magicians. They can be magicians. They can shapeshift. They can put on any hat they want, the hat that they think will serve them best, and the hat that will make you do what they want you to do. It all sounds pretty sinister, guys. And I'm telling you this just so you're aware. I'm not telling you this to say that everybody that, is mean to you is this evil person or whatever. They have their own trauma to heal. Okay. You're just the target. You're not the source. You're the target. And know that. Let that shit bounce off of you guys. Put your armor on. Put up your energetic boundaries. Wear your crystals. You know, I'm still wearing my crystals. I got all kinds of crystals on now. Whatever it is you have to do for you to protect yourself, to speak your truth, to know your truth, to stand in your truth, do it. I don't care if you have to go outside and howl at the moon, or if you have to drink a gallon of water a day because that keeps evil away, or I don't know, whatever old wives' tale or whatever belief system that you subscribe to. If you go to a Catholic church every week and you say, 10 Our Fathers and 5 Hail Marys at confession. I don't care what you choose to do, but do something. Do what makes sense to you, what your subconscious, what your intuition, what your higher self, what God is speaking to you. And know that when these things come up, like it came up for me today too, some people might say it was a test and I passed. Okay, yeah, we'll go with that. Or another one could be, you know what, there's still people out there that need healing. And there is um, no end to this job. And as your vibration raises, and when I say vibration, your energetic vibration, right? Your awareness, when you stay present, when you know your truth, when you've healed and you get to those next levels, if you will, um, these challenges become smaller and eventually they'll disappear. I hope. I'll let you know if they do. But they don't get you down the way they used to. And that is confirmation. If you were wondering, if you've done the work, if you were wondering if you have evolved, well, there's confirmation that you did. And what's better than that, right? How would you know otherwise? How would you know that there was stars in the sky if there wasn't the backdrop of the night to show you that contrast? Guys! How would I know there was somebody at my door if my dogs weren't barking? Let me say that again in case you didn't hear me. How would you know there were stars in the sky if there wasn't the contrast of the backdrop of night? The stars are still there during the day, guys, but you can't see them. And the sun is still there at night, but you can't see it. Doesn't mean it's not there. So I'm going to leave it there. This was kind of a long video, and I know it's a little all over the map, but the point of the video is, guys, there's a million different tricks I could teach you to protect yourself from these kind of things. There's a lot of different techniques I use to reframe these conversations, to retell the story in a way that your subconscious can resolve, right? Oh, cognitive dissonance was another thing I had mentioned. We'll do another video about that. But basically the short story on that one is when your truths are in opposition, but they're still true. For example, my mother was emotionally abusive, and I still love her. Interesting. That is cognitive dissonance. Anyway, we'll talk about that on the next video. So, guys, if you got anything out of this, please drop me a comment. Let me know. Otherwise, there's more videos right here.